right, good morning, guys. So we're going to start our webinar. If you have any questions or issues like technologically, you can type it into the question bar and Sarah will help me with the technology part of the webinar. All right, so this month's webinar is about avoiding burnout with Snowy, the self-care snowman. So we're going to do a quick poll because I like polls. So it's going to be, we're going to launch it right now. Feel free to vote for any and all. The question is, how are you feeling about VISTA service right now? So far, like general for today. Take as many as you want. I'll let it go for another 30 seconds until we get a lot of negative answers, and then I'll stop the poll. All right, so we're going to close it. Can I share this with you? I can't. Ah, there we go. All right, so you can see a lot of you guys are feeling good and excited, which is good. Some of you are feeling stressed out, some of you are feeling frustrated, and some of you are feeling confused. Good news is that's fair, and we're going to walk through a little bit of how to minimize the effects of stress and frustration, and we're going to do our best to answer any of your questions so that you're less confused. So let's get started. I'm going to hide this. All right, so maybe. There we go. All right. So we're going to go through some burnout and self-care tips. We're going to do a little bit of share back on your best methods for self-care, so keep that in the back of your head. And then we're going to do some housekeeping about some of your upcoming due dates for some stuff, because your QPR is due on Friday, not to add to your frustration or stress. All right, so briefly, we're going to kind of go through roughly what your AmeriCorps experience might feel like in terms of emotion. So like your first couple months is like, this is awesome, I love my site, this is great, I can crush it. And then, you know, if we start to get into winter, we start to get into high heating bills in apartments. You start to kind of feel the crunch of the living stipend being very low. You know, you kind of run into roadblocks at work, at your service site, my bad. And you kind of start to get frustrated, you get to get burnout, and it's not the best for a couple months earlier in your service. And then there's a turnaround point, a third to halfway through your service, where it starts to get better and it starts to turn positive. And it becomes kind of a slow, like, I can do this, I can do this. You know, you see some small change, you see some small progress, and it kind of all builds on itself into the last months of your service, which are normally pretty positive. So this is just to say that if you hit a point where you are super burnout and you're super frustrated and you're like, why did I become a VISTA? That's normal and that's okay. And if you run into that point, let me know, because, you know, we've been through it before and we can help and we can provide some resources. But so we're trying to head that off with this presentation today to try and say, here are some strategies when you hit that point to kind of get you through it. So the importance of self-care, it prevents the burnout. It reduces the effects of the stress that you're probably under, you know, whether that's due to your living stipend, whether that's your service site, whether that's just life, that's okay. But some amount of stress is okay. You know, if you don't have enough stress, you can get bored, you can get unfocused. But if you have too much stress, that's where anxiety and burnout and depression and apathy come in, and it's not good. Everybody's optimal stress level is different. I will say I am happiest under probably more stress than I should have, but I really like that. I think it makes me focused. But that's not true for everybody, and that's okay. It's about knowing where you find your most manageable stress level and kind of keeping yourself there. So, common stressors. So in everyday life, losing a loved one, relationship troubles, lack of sleep for whatever reason, those are really common stressors. But then in AmeriCorps, you add on top of all the general stressors, sometimes moving to a new place, financial strain because you're making 12 grand a year, isolation because you're the only AmeriCorps person in your host site, overworked, underappreciated, all the paperwork and reporting that we make you do, FYI, again, your QPR is due Friday. There's a bunch of stuff that stacks. And it's one of those things that sometimes it creeps up on you and sometimes you don't think that you're that stressed. And then you kind of look back and you're like, oh no, I was actually really, really stressed and I should have been proactive about reducing it. So we're gonna go through some basic signs of stress just so that you can keep it in your back of your head, so that like when you see some of these signs, it can kind of be a little red flag of like, hey, I should go figure out what my self-care process is, because that's important and that will keep me focused and that will keep me the best VISTA that I can be. So emotional stress, if you're irritable or grumpy, if you can't ever really turn your brain off, I don't know if that happens to anybody else, but I am totally one of those people that I like never stop thinking ever. And that's not good. It's often a sign of stress. If you're avoiding others when you normally wouldn't, if you have misplaced anger or frustration, like if you're good at your service site, you're super positive, super great, and then you come home and you're really frustrated with your partner or your roommate or your parents or whoever, that is often a good sign of emotional stress. Not a good, but it's a true sign of emotional stress that you should kind of watch, because obviously that's not a positive in your life, and a lot of times AmeriCorps can be pretty isolating, and so keeping the people that make you better close to you is always a good thing. So keep an eye out for those. Physical stress, if you have super low energy, if you're not sleeping very much, or if you're sleeping a ton, that's a huge thing. If you are holding tension, like if your shoulders are always next to your ears, like constantly, you're probably stressed. Oftentimes people will get upset stomachs, headaches. I know I get migraines if I'm in a really, really stressful point. Kind of keep an eye on your health, because it's one of those things that, we do get a good amount of sick leave, but it's important to make sure that you're healthy and you're able to continue to serve and continue to be happy and fulfilled. I will say, if you work in a school, watch your sickness level, because I got sick all the time at the high school that I served at last year, literally all the time. But part of that was because I was stressed. Keep an eye on it. Cognitive stress, again, if you are constantly worrying, if you are constantly thinking, if you can't focus, if you forget everything, if you more than normal. Again, that's a good thing to watch out for and a thing to make note of and try and work on. If you are atypically pessimistic or negative, if you are normally pretty happy, normally pretty even, and you suddenly are pretty negative, keep an eye out, because that's often a good sign of stress. Behaviorally, if you are eating too much, if you're not eating anything, if you're procrastinating, again, more than normal, saying that as a chronic procrastinator, keep an eye out. If you are having a couple of beers too many, if you are biting your nails, if you're doing anything that is not a positive behavioral sign, keep an eye out and work to remedy it. Because again, all of this stuff stacks, and all of this stuff, might seem like not a big deal, but if you stack it all up, they're pretty significant symptoms of stress. So watch it, because everybody gets super stressed out often during your AmeriCorps year, and the best thing you can do is keep an eye on it and build a strong self-care routine to make sure that you're as functional as possible. So what do we mean when we say self-care routine? There's a bunch of types of self-care, right? So physical self-care. You should go for a walk. Like even during your lunch hour, if there's a place to go walk outside, go get out of your service site and go, see some nature. Even if you live in a city, see some different place. I know Alexis had walking meetings actually with her supervisor, which was super cool, and it's a great way to have self-care built into your work routine. So do a walking meeting with your supervisor if you have a check-in. Go work out at home. Alternately, go check out your YMCA for deals. I told them that I was an AmeriCorps member, and I think I showed them my living stipend check, and I got a really, really good deal on a YMCA membership. So keep an eye out for that. There's often free yoga actually in Detroit for AmeriCorps members. You can get a lot of good deals if you're willing to say, hi, I work, I serve with AmeriCorps. We have a really low living stipend. What can we do about this membership fee? Don't be afraid to ask, because often people will surprise you. Go to sleep on time. I am notorious for not doing that either, but set a bedtime routine, go to sleep on time, value your sleep, and limit your blue screen content before bed. That's super bad for your circadian rhythms. There's a setting on your computer normally that you can make it so that it will eliminate your blue light out of your computer if you are a night owl that likes to work late. Eat something green. So a good way to use this is if you have food stamps, double up food bucks will get you, particularly at farmers markets, but grocery stores will do it too. You can get twice the bang for your buck if you buy local vegetables. Look into that. It's a great way to make your food stamp budget go a lot further and to bring a lot of healthy foods into your regular diet. Drink more water. So you will eventually get some dope VISTA water bottles. Use them religiously because it's super, super important. And I know if I'm super busy at my service site, I'm notorious for I won't drink any water at all, and then I will wonder why I feel terrible. That's probably a good reason. And then the last one is clean your space. So whether that's your desk, whether that's your room, whether that's your apartment, I think oftentimes a cluttered area and a messy area just kind of adds to your stress. And it's one of those things that you don't always know about, but it can be an important kind of factor that will make you feel like you've had a productive day, even if you didn't get everything done. So clean your room. Intellectually, go learn something new. We have a really unique opportunity here as a VISTA to go learn from really cool people. So go talk to somebody new at your service site that you think is really cool, but you haven't had a chance to chat with. Go listen to podcasts. Local libraries, FYI, you can get an app that will get you audiobooks for free. It's great. I use it probably too often, but I love it. And it's super free, and it's a great form of entertainment that's good for my brain and also good for my wallet because there's not much in there. Learn a new language. Do something to kind of keep your learning spirit alive, because I think it's always good for your brain, and always good for your mental health to think you are continuing to move forward and continuing to learn. Socially, it all depends on who you are, right? So call your friends. I didn't used to do this, but now I do pretty regularly. Actually, I will have a phone call with some of my college friends when I'm driving to a host site or when I'm, on my way home from work. I will go call my friends because they're also driving home. And it's a good way to kind of stay in contact, especially if you move to serve, and especially if you're kind of out of your normal support system. It's a great way to stay in touch. Delegate your work. So if you are super, super, super overwhelmed, it's okay to go talk to your host site supervisor and say, look, I don't think that I have a problem with completing the amount of work that I've been given. Can we talk about how I can be more efficient, and if there's a way to delegate it? Talk to your supervisor, because often your supervisors want to support you. If you feel like you're getting dumped on, talk to them, talk to me. That's not the goal, and that's not good for you or your host site. So we can work through it. Delegate your work. Find free events in your area. Normally there's a good Facebook page for any given general area. Go like the Facebook page that's things to do in Lansing, or when I was at my service site in Alcona, I found one for the next biggest city, which was Alpena. Still not a big city, but it's cool. And I ended up joining roller derby, and it was the best thing that I possibly did in terms of self-care the entire year. I made a whole new group of friends. It was good exercise. It was good to get aggression out, to hit each other respectfully. It was great. So go find a new hobby to do. Go volunteer. So I know that sounds ridiculous, because we are volunteers in service to America, VISTA, and you spend your entire day serving at your host site. But go volunteer with something different, or something that you're really, really passionate about. So go walk a dog at the Humane Society. Go serve lunch at a soup kitchen on Saturdays. I find that often I'm happiest and I'm most fulfilled when I'm working to serve others and when I'm doing good things. And I think often that's pretty common with folks that serve in VISTA, because we're all pretty altruistic people. So go volunteer, go find something new to do, which will also often find you cool friends to hang out with too. So get out of your comfort zone, but also be okay with taking a break. It's okay to come home and just sit in silence for a while, especially if you guys have really overwhelming service sites. Sometimes I would come home and just sit quietly for 10 minutes and recharge, and then I would be okay and good to go for the rest of my day. So don't be afraid to take the time that you need to recover, because it's really important. And I think, again, it varies for everybody. So keep an eye out for that too. So meditate. The Calm app on the App Store is free for educators. You might have to provide a school email, and educators being anyone that works in a school. So if you have a school email, often that's free, I think for a full year. So keep an eye out for that. It's a really great app. It's a good way to have a 5-minute, meditation, breathing session to kind of get you right for the day. Start a gratitude journal. I actually did start journaling through my AmeriCorps experience, and it was really interesting to look back. And it's kind of a good thing to be able to pause and say yep, it's really frustrating. My refrigerator doesn't work right now, so my food is all warm, and I have a giant electricity bill, and this is stupid. But I'm grateful for my dog. I'm grateful for, the kids that I work with that brighten my day every day. The people that I get to serve with, they're super great and super smart and super fun. Whatever it is that you're grateful for, I think taking a moment to pause and acknowledge that is pretty important, because it's super easy to get caught up in the frustration that sometimes comes with being a VISTA, and that sometimes comes with, a living stipend that is at the poverty level. But it's important to, I think, pause and acknowledge that there are some really cool opportunities and some really great people that you get to meet through this year. So, emotional self-care. So it's okay to say no. Often at our host sites, we're generally all pretty good folks that want to go help out. And, sometimes that leads to extra stress because we've overcommitted. And it's okay to say no. And it's okay to say, this isn't under, the terms of my VISTA year, or, I don't think I have the bandwidth for this, can we find another solution? It's okay to say, this isn't going to work for me. Both for you and for your host site, of like, it's not effective if you're doing 10,000 things and you're getting super burnt out and you're super stressed out and you hate everything. That's not helpful for anything. Nobody wins with that. So it's okay to say no. It's okay to express your feelings. It's okay to say, like, man, that was a really hard day. Or like, man, that was, that story from that kid that they told me their life story, and that was really hard. It's okay to say that life is hard, and it's okay to say that, sometimes life sucks. Because I think if we don't appreciate that sometimes, then it all gets bottled up, and then it comes out as stress. So if you had a hard day, it's okay to say you had a hard day. And it's okay to admit when there's faults or failures or hard times, because again, it's a VISTA year. Sometimes it's going to be hard, and that's okay. Take some time away from social media. So I just started doing this actually. There is a way on at least iPhones to set screen time maximums on each app. So like, say that you only want to spend a half an hour a day on Instagram and Twitter, because Twitter just makes me mad. And that was not healthy for me. So take time away from social media. Take a pause, focus inward, focus on, the work that you're doing, and don't always focus on social media, because I think it's always easy to say that it's a good way to stay connected to your friends and family, which it is, but be aware of, what social media can do to you too. Because it can affect everybody differently, but it's not always positive. Start a budget. If money is hard, and money is likely hard because it's a VISTA budget, start one. I always find that it's pretty helpful to know where my money's going. Mint is a good app to use. It links to your accounts, and it will gently remind you if you're over budget on something. So if you think that might work, I would recommend Mint. There's a bunch of different apps. I also have an Excel sheet because I like Excel. But knowing where your money's going is sometimes really helpful. And use the member assistance program. So we sent out an email a little bit ago about the member assistance program and ways to access it. So what that member assistance program is, again, just to remind you, is it's access to telehealth, like telecounseling. They will probably help you make a budget. If you have questions on where to access it, what to access, let me know. It's a pretty cool program. Their webinar, I can resend out. I'll resend out after this webinar. That kind of goes over everything that they offer. It's a great program, and it's free for our members. So you just have to say that you are a part of the Michigan Nonprofit Association VISTA program, and they will hook you up with what you need. I can't say it enough. It's a great resource. So if you're looking to get telehealth, to get anything that's causing you real stress, look to the member assistance program, because they might have some real resources. And then lastly, briefly, as we're going into the holiday season, self-care during time off. So I am really bad at this. I am working to get better at it. So set your email away message and say hey, I'm out of the office for these dates. I'll respond to email when I get back. For urgent things, contact your host site supervisor probably. And then turn off your notifications on your phone. So I have my email, my work email on my phone, and it is a double-edged sword, right? Because sometimes it's stressful to not know what's going on, but sometimes it's stressful to have the email that you have to respond to, but you can't right now, and then it's just kind of hanging over your head. And that's not very healthy either. So use the time away from work as a hard reset to kind of pause on your service, start a new self-care habit, spend time with people you love, Do your favorite things. Go hike. Go like build a snowman. Snowy the self-care snowman would appreciate that. Go do things that you like that build your energy back up so that you can come back from the holiday season ready to go, make a huge difference in your service site. I think it's a really good opportunity to practice good self-care throughout the Thanksgiving and the December holidays. It's not easy for everybody. I will say, this is the one I probably struggle with the most. But it's really healthy to set boundaries. And I would strongly encourage you to. And I will also be setting boundaries for the holiday season, despite how uncomfortable it is. So yeah, just use your time away for a hard reset. Take a break because you've earned one. Because, you guys deserve the break with your loved ones and your favorite things to do and not at your service site like you do. And so please take that time, and please take that time away from your service site and away from your work. And if you have questions about how to do that, let me know. I can walk you through away messages and how to set boundaries, because Sarah has been really good about encouraging me to set boundaries as well. So we're going to do a share back. So raise your hand in the little app or type your answer into the chat box. But what self-care strategies do you use? What do you use to not stay so stressed at your service site or during your service, or just generally? Okay, has your hand raised. All right. Okay, I'm gonna unmute you, and then you should be good to chat, okay? Hey there. All right, Kay, you should be good to share. You there? All right. Anybody else got good self-care strategies? It's real boring if no one shares, so please share. It'll get me to stop talking if you share.
Amethyst shared that she learned how to crochet and got back into things she hasn't done in a while, like logic puzzles and reading, all good things.
That's awesome. Oh, Jordan's got a good one. Jordan says that she designates one day a week on Sundays where she doesn't look at emails or calendars, and that she can do whatever she wants the entire day. Sometimes it's 5 loads of laundry, and sometimes it's sleeping all day. I like it. That makes a lot of sense. Nice. Dimitri says, go to therapy. Agreed. Again, so your healthcare allowance through IMG will also reimburse any of your out-of-pocket costs, and that includes therapy. So use it, because that's important. I think it's an underutilized thing. So yeah, go to therapy. Also, your member assistance program offers some telehealth. Jackie says, sometimes I want to take care of myself, but I don't want to be alone, and I have friends who are similar. So sometimes we just agree to hang out and not talk much, but go to a coffee shop or watch a movie in each other's presence, which is an excellent one, because I also hate talking sometimes, despite what it sounds like. That's a good one. Natalie says exercise. Also an excellent one. Good for your brain, good for your body.
This is Sarah. I try to, when I'm doing something at home, to just do one thing, which is hard because I'm a multitasker. But if I'm watching a TV show and I'm realizing I'm on my phone or on the computer as well, then I'm not really invested in any of those things fully. So I try to just put everything else away and do one thing at a time, which is a challenge for me.
That's a really good one, though. Because I am also super notorious for, like, I will watch my phone and a TV show. Michaela says she makes sure to make time once a week to go to the pottery studio. Throwing pots is excellent for stress relief, and the conversation with her instructor is always a good release from the week. That is seriously so cool. Like, oh my goodness. Megan says, I keep on top of doing dishes and avoid letting them pile up and becoming that much more to deal with. Also an excellent point, and it kind of goes back to cleaning things. Like, it's a good stress relief. Latoya says you can do yoga. Solid one, I like it. Pam says, I find cooking is a wonderful stress reliever, which is also an excellent one.
And what a great result when you cook something,
right? And then you get something delicious at the end. For those of you who don't know, Pam is like an award-winning cook, so it's pretty, she's serious about it. I like it. Nice. These are all excellent. All right, any last ones? Perfect. Patrick. I like it. Patrick says, I've bought 5 plants since moving to Michigan. Taking care of them is fun, easy, and reminds me to also drink water. I like it. That's awesome. Patrick, have all of your plants survived? Because that's always my personal struggle. 4 out of 5. That's actually pretty good. That's a victory. Kay says, she just says no. And I think that is an underrated one of like, it's okay to say no. And I like it. This is good. Along the same lines, Jackie says, being honest with supervisors about boundaries has been helpful. Letting them know about your mental health needs helps you work together better and be more effective overall. And it should be considered the same as a physical health update if you're comfortable sharing, which is super true. And again, a good point of like drawing boundaries and saying no. And it's okay to say no. Good one.
So it kind of goes against the blue screen rule, but if I've had a really long day and right before I go to bed, I like to watch funny videos on the internet. So for me, it's puppies very often. Sometimes if you do puppies and babies, then it's just overload, but sometimes just a few minutes of watching something silly can make you laugh before you go to sleep.
Along that line, a Great British Baking Show, very wholesome show, would recommend if you're stressed. I suck at baking, but it makes me feel better at least, so I like it. Cool. Any last ones, and then we're going to get into a couple other things. Going once, going twice. Sold. If you have any more, keep typing them in the chat box, and we can touch base with them in a minute. So, the next thing is, what was one of your victories this month? So, feel free to, I think again, going along with self-care, I don't think we share enough of our victories. We often share when things are hard, but sharing when things are awesome is kind of hard sometimes. So, type your victories in the chat box if you could. One of my victories that I just had was everybody turned in their timesheets by November 6th, which is like, it's a victory for you guys, but it's also a victory for me. And I was pretty stoked about that. So kudos to you guys, and thanks for making my life easy. Is there anybody that had a good victory? I'm gonna call on someone if you don't share. Maybe like an annoying teacher. Yes, Jordan, gold star. Jordan is overseeing our conference breakout sessions, and their goal was 40 submissions, and they got 76. That is dope. That's so exciting. Pam says that she's been planning a college palooza for weeks, and it's today. No one thought we could get more than 30 people to come, and we have 60 people attending, 40 students and 20 parents. Pam, that's awesome. Oh, yay, college palooza. Oh, yes, Kay has Kay has one. Kay finally had a resource group meeting, which is one of her performance measures. It's been planning for 3 months. 3 people showed up, and they're super involved, and they came with great ideas, which is awesome. Jackie finished writing her first grant. That's dope. It brought her closer with her supervisor and coworkers, and she got to learn a ton about Kent ISD and Project North Star. She got a lot of positive feedback from everyone she worked with, and it was a super affirming and exciting process overall, even though it was exhausting. Jackie, that's dope. Yay. I don't know about you guys, I appreciate hearing. You're welcome, Jackie. I appreciate hearing victories. Yay. Any other victories before we get into housekeeping stuff? Big or small? Yes, Mitchell survived the LSAT. From experience, good job, because it sucks. Yay for surviving the LSAT. Dope. Feel free to, yes. June says the college readiness event was held and it was successful. That's awesome. That was one of those things that June had been doing last year, but it finally got held and it was successful. Yeah, that's dope. All right, any other victories? Yes, and they also used the webinar that June wrote. June, also, please share that when that's ready, because it's a college access webinar that seems really, really cool. And I'm real jazzed to hear about it. Woohoo. All right. So we're going to move on. Feel free to continue to write your victories because they are dope. So we're going to go into housekeeping real quick. I did not know that that was animated on the snowman, and I'm pretty excited about that. So housekeeping. November 8th, your QPR number 1 is due into CVent. So you're going to share the template that you should hopefully be writing your QPR on with your supervisor, and then you're going to submit it all, kind of copy and paste it into CVent by November 8th. Please get that in on November 8th. I have to go in and manually open it back up if you're late, and it's a real pain. So it's due, hard deadline, November 8th. If you have questions, we're going to have a minute in just a second to ask any QPR questions, because I'm sure that, if you have a question, I'm sure your other fellow VISTAs do too. So November 14th, the AmeriCorps member celebration is in Lansing. For those of you that are going, there will be an email with more info soon about parking and carpooling and reimbursements and stuff. November 27th is the official end of the Acumen course. So all of your assignments and stuff should be turned in by the end of that date to get your certificate of achievement. We will have more information about the human-centered design process shortly, going on with the next steps of the process, but kind of be thinking about whether you want to host a site-based project or a group-based project. Keep that in the back of your brain and kind of talk through it with your supervisors if you get the chance. November 31st, timesheets and monthly reports due. If you are taking the Thanksgiving and the day after off, please turn in your, I guess it's November 30th because there's only 30 days in November, might be. Please turn it in on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, the 27th, if you're taking that Friday off. If you're not, feel free to turn it in on that Friday. As a note, you will have to take a vacation day for that Friday because it's not a federally recognized holiday. You technically don't get a holiday day for the Friday after Thanksgiving. So keep that in mind. All right, any questions about your QPR? General questions, any questions? Jordan just asked, if our site is closed the Friday after Thanksgiving, can we count that as a holiday? No, which is unfortunate. But no, you actually have to take a vacation day or make plans to work off-site. Yeah, I know there's not a November 31st. 30 days has November is, hard. But yeah, so you will have to take a vacation day, even if your site is closed. And we will go through, FYI, we will go through more details about the end of December, like Christmas holidays. As we get closer, you'll have to fill out a off-site work request form if you're going to be working off-site while your site is closed for the holidays. But that is an up-and-coming thing. So any questions about the QPR? Please review it with your supervisor before you submit it. This is one of the big reporting things that we ask you to do. There's only 4 of them, but they're pretty important to our grant reporting. So please put in some effort for them. Yeah, so the form, Kay, do you mean the CVent form? Kay's question is, please talk about the form. If it saves as you go, I completed one section 3 times. Yeah, so the CVent form will time out, which is, I wonder if that's where you're running into it. It does time out, and if you don't specifically click save, I don't believe that it saves your response for that section. So yeah, it can be frustrating. The CVent form is kind of tricky. I would recommend if you can just copy and paste from the template, the Word doc template. Yeah, it's super frustrating. So yeah, it times out. I would recommend if you have it all good to go in your template and just you can copy paste super quick, because yeah, it's real frustrating if it times out and you lose the section. So keep an eye on that as you're submitting your CVent forms. What time does the CVent close on the 8th? That's a great question, Gabrielle. I think it's midnight. I will double check if it's not, and when we send a follow-up to the webinar, I will follow up on when it closes. It's not like noon or anything. It should be after the end of business hours. All right, any other CVent QPR questions?
It closes at 11:59.
It closes at 11:59 on Friday. Thank you, Sarah. Mm-hmm. So yeah, so anytime that you submit it Friday, you should be okay. As an FYI, you don't need to send me the Word document like you would a monthly report. As long as you submit everything through CVent, that should be totally fine. All right, any last questions, and then I'll let you guys go. Do we email you pictures? Yes, so if you have any pictures that you'd like to include in your quarterly progress report, or honestly, if you guys have any pictures from your service site of like you doing cool things, or like of the cool things that you did, please send them, yeah. Please send them to my email, because we'll put them in the reporting section, and then we'll also probably put it on Facebook, because we like showing pictures of VISTAs doing cool things. All right, last question. Going once, going twice. All right, if you guys have any other QPR questions as you like finish them and you're getting ready to submit them this week, let me know. I'm out of office for a site visit for the rest of the day today, but I will be around for the rest of the week. Pam just asked, when do we get a VISTA swag? Great question, Pam. So the official VISTA swag, I think, is back ordered till December, but we are working on getting you some amount of VISTA swag early with your mid-year gift. So you will probably hear more about that shortly once I figure out what to order. So that is coming soon. Do we know more about the field trips? Yeah, so the field trips are on hiatus for right now. They're on pause for at least the fall period, potentially for the rest of the year. There will be an email coming out to you guys soon on kind of what to expect post Maggie's departure, because we've switched some stuff up. It shouldn't be much. Should we wear VISTA gear to the event in Lansing? If you have it, yes. Please wear any VISTA gear that you've got so that we can represent. Otherwise, I think it's like business casual. It's totally fine for Lansing. And more info on the Lansing event is TBD. We'll have that out to you soon, probably this week. All right, any other questions on anything in general? No burning questions? Okay, so we are going to stay on the line to answer any final last questions if you've got them. But otherwise, you guys are free to go. Thanks for being here. We will post the recording on the website later this week. So if you really enjoyed this webinar so much, you can watch it again. All right, so have a good week, guys. Be sure to submit your QPRs. Keep being great. If I stop the recording, does it stop the...